So it seems like recently Dokibird has been, making a lot of news over on Twitter in regards to viewbots. Now, essentially what she does is she talks a lot about her own experiences with viewbots. Not saying that she viewbots, by the way, but her own experiences with games companies and things like that and sponsors, and essentially, letting them know of some of the telltale signs of people viewbotting, especially in the community, which I do think is a very important thing to kind of talk about. And she talks about it with a chat on stream, obviously with all of the phase stuff going on at the moment. That's why she's been talking about it. But yeah, it says Dokibird on why people viewbot their stream, and here's what she has to say about it over here.
Submits on Twitter to viewbot. Bro, you know why people viewbot? Other than like being at the top of the page, sponsors pay X amount of money per 100 CCV. So that's why people viewbot, because they only look at CCV. I help the rivals devs to not get scammed because they were accidentally sponsoring viewbotters. I told them, bro, that person's a viewbotter. And they're like, but they have so many views. Yeah, but look at the chat interactions. It barely moves. You can literally check them out on Twitch tracker and see like they just gained like 1 million followers within like a month and then barely anything.
Yeah, which again is crazy that's even possible in the first place. Obviously, this is a huge issue over on Twitch at the moment, and also other platforms too. Is a lot of Twitch bots and viewbots or whatever you want to call them, right? Who essentially are there literally just to pump up the number of the stream, give them a higher CCV, which is essentially what all the companies look at. A lot of companies are very stupid in the sense that they just kind of look at the CCV, they go, oh, they've got 100k viewers, okay, let's hire this guy, even though they don't check something like maybe their chat, maybe something else in terms of how much they're actually getting some interactions with their community, because again, that will look very, very different if it is a viewbotter. The chat will move very, very slowly, and obviously that isn't very attributed to someone who maybe has 100,000 watching them over on Twitch or over on Kick or whatever. And I mean, a lot of sponsors, a lot of companies do end up getting scammed themselves by these people who essentially are viewbotting and essentially streaming to a much lower number than they are paying them for. And they obviously end up losing out on a lot of kind of, I guess, exposure. But yeah, Dokibird says that she's also been helping Marvel Rivals with that kind of stuff, which I do think is very, very interesting.
Anything after that. Sponsors don't look past numbers. They don't really like research, because sponsors usually go through brokers, and the brokers would just be like, oh, these people have these views, you want to get them? And they're like, yeah, okay, we pay X amount of money per 100 CCV. So a lot of streamers now, they viewbot so they can get bigger payouts. Remember I told you guys they accidentally leaked a big streamer rates to me? So I fucking know how much people get paid if they have like 40k viewers. I know exactly how much they get paid. It's a fucking crazy amount compared to what I get paid for like the CCV I have. And that's why people viewbot, because they can scam the sponsors. It's a good investment for them. They literally can get paid insane amounts of money for like lying about their CCVs. It's a literal infinite money glitch. It's legal because they don't really know you're getting viewbot or not. That's why Twitch was so strict about cutting numbers. Like how everyone was saying like, I can't believe Twitch fucked up my numbers or some shit like that. Like, which is understandable because it's literally your livelihood. But Twitch had to double down because sponsors and advertisers were getting really fucking mad about it because they felt like they were getting scammed. Wait, I'm not getting my money's worth, because it feels like their numbers are way off than what they actually are.
Which, yeah, obviously that was a big thing that went over on Twitch. They had the big kind of, I guess, apocalypse of viewers, which I think there was a kind of like a nuanced discussion behind this. I think that a lot of what people were saying was Twitch were removing a lot of active chatters or non-active chatters, sorry, in terms of people lurking and marking them as viewbots, which caused a much bigger dip than what we were first expecting in terms of the viewbots themselves. And it seems like many people are still getting away with viewbotting over on Twitch. Like, for example, you think about like Mizkif, who obviously moved over to Kick after all of the stuff that happened, right? And you guys saw that he, used to average 25,000 viewers over on Twitch, which is a very large amount. Obviously, he's up there with some of the top people, right? But as soon as he went over to Kick, he was averaging like 5k, which is obviously like 20,000 less, which I think obviously, it kind of proves to you that he more than likely was viewbotting, or there was something going on with his viewership that was making him higher up and inflated. And it seems like the people that they really want to target with this are not being targeted. It seems like smaller streamers with maybe people who lurk are being more targeted, which again, obviously are not bots at all. They're just people who lurk. And instead, all of the people at the top who are still viewbotting are still getting away with what they're doing, still managed to get away with it. I don't know how. I don't know if it's a Twitch issue. They just, forgot to, get rid of the other viewbots at the top, right? Or maybe they've got some kind of secret conspiracy behind the scenes or whatever, I don't know. Or if it's, something to do with the fact that maybe they've got better bots that are able to be untraceable or whatever. But either way, it doesn't look good. And it's been affecting the platform quite a bit. Not just for sponsors, right? Because obviously the sponsors get affected by it because, again, they don't get to see what their real viewership is, and they, pressure Twitch to make changes about this, then Twitch makes those changes. Smaller streamers get hit heavy by it because of their lurkers, and they get kicked, which obviously they should find some kind of way around that to actually detect bots, and obviously not label lurkers as bots, which I think is pretty crazy. And then as well, you go on to removing some of the biggest and most egregious cases of people using viewbots over on Twitch, because again, there are so many people on there. You literally go to some of the top kind of categories, right? And you go to some of the top streamers on the platform, and most of them using viewbots to some degree, right? And I do think that obviously should be kind of cracked down on. But again, it seems to be only affecting smaller streamers, which I think is kind of crazy, right?
A lot of them are viewbotting, and it's crazy. Like, the amount of money you get between 10K to 20K is a huge gap. Viewbots are like fake viewers. Yeah, you're using a software to inflate your numbers. Sponsors are getting mad, but all they could do is blame Twitch. They can't really blame the streamer. Yeah, and now the numbers are super deflated because they went super fucking hard on it too. Apparently, like, Kick has lesser moderation for Kick streamers. They like viewbot so hard because it's just good payday. No, viewbotting's everywhere. It's not like nobody is safe from viewbotting.
Which, yeah, I do think is true. Now, obviously, Dokibird didn't go into some of the nuances of viewbotting as well. There is cases where some people, as Dokibird is saying here, inflate their numbers to get better sponsors or whatever, to get higher up on the list, to get higher up in a category. But there's also people who get viewbotted by companies, right? For example, we saw recently Blue Star Resonance viewbotted Shy Lily because, again, this is just something that sponsors do sometimes, and they often, go ahead and viewbot some people's streams because they want it to get out to the most people that they possibly can, or maybe get them to the top of the category so that people can see their stream, which obviously, it's kind of understandable, but it is just a common practice that kind of happens behind the scenes now. And there's also been many other cases, for example, like Hoyoverse. Hoyoverse obviously do that quite a lot with their creators too. Some of their top creators are still being, viewbotted to this day, which I think is crazy. And many people who have been let go of that viewbotting program have fallen off extremely heavily, like crazily heavily, which I think obviously shows you how much they really rely on that, rather than obviously relying on creating a real audience, which at the end of the day, obviously, I don't think they should be getting viewbotted. I think obviously, it should be a case of everyone should be able to get there naturally, and whoever, has the highest views should then obviously be picked, but not picked to be viewbotted, picked to be sponsored, right? And obviously, there's been a lot of people talk about this as well. So this is what I said several days about video game studios and companies being misled due to trusting brokers that only care about CCV. They don't care if those communities exist, neither if the streamer is actually a good fit. It's actually an extremely sad reality, and this only affects negatively to us all. Legit streamers, they rip off opportunities from us, and make also these companies not hire content creators due to their investments not being fruitful because they hire people that outright scam them or simply want good fits, which I do think is also a really good point there. Obviously, it's a lot of people as well, a lot of companies, they will, sponsor these people. They'll go, oh, okay, we want that person, and this person is viewbotting, right? And they go and sponsor them. They get barely any return on it because, again, they've got barely any viewers actually watching them. And then they're just like, well, we don't really want to work with content creators overall. We might as well better spend this money on like a billboard or something somewhere else, right? Because they might get a better kind of reception, which I do think, obviously, it does affect things for everybody else as well whenever people do this kind of stuff, and it is very, very disappointing to see. So again, I do think that's a very good point there from Momo, which, I do think that obviously people do get straight up scammed, or not scammed, but, these companies get straight up scammed by many people that are viewbotting, as well as, you got the trusting brokers as well. You got the brokers who essentially are the middle people. And I've worked with a lot of these people before, and they're usually quite nice. And I think that, it is also the fact of these companies can't be bothered to get their own kind of talent management system. So they go and find other talent places that will obviously present them with sponsors and present them with, content creators that they might want to work with. And then obviously then, they decide whether they want to or not. But they essentially just, pick those content creators based off of their viewership, based off of, how popular they are. And I think we've seen a lot of that, especially with, for example, the Blue Archive situation, whenever they had like Gigux, Sea-Dog, ironmouse, I think there's Zentrea as well, all doing a Blue Archive sponsor, which got cancelled after the community backlash because they didn't do their research into, exactly who was being involved, as Connor has been very, anti a lot of the stuff that Blue Archive is about. So people were not happy with him, you know, being a part of it and not happy with him kind of being involved, which, you know, makes sense because again, you know, you shouldn't have sponsors for people that don't really, you know, like your product, right? Obviously, it's very clear that he doesn't really like the product. And he's doing it for the bag, which I don't blame him because obviously if I was presented with that as well and I was under the same thinking as him, you know, I would also take the bag because, you know, it's a sponsor, right? But, you know, many people called it out on Twitter and that's whenever they obviously removed them from it. But again, obviously that was due to a lot of poor kind of research and stuff into the VTubers and the creators that they were trying to hire, right? But again, I do think it is a very big problem. Obviously, it's great to see that Dokibird has been speaking very openly about it, and it seems like she knows quite a lot about this kind of stuff. So again, it would be nice to see her talk about this kind of stuff more. And yeah, overall, it's just been a very, very important topic that a lot of people have been talking about over the past couple of days now. But yeah, that's essentially all I got for this video. If you guys did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameSubs, use my code Kaza, get 10% off. Again, they got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.